and welcome to the Fantasy News Show from the Bottled Imp. My name is Ken Boyter, and this is your fix of weekly fantasy. I think I'll say that the wrong way around that time. But anyway, let's carry on. On this week's show, music is coming. Oh yes. Star Wars is coming to a galaxy near you. And have you ever wanted to communicate with the spirits? But first, Terry Jones, the Monty Python star, has received a Welsh Bafta for outstanding contribution to television and film, which is great news. Last month it was announced that he had a severe type of dementia, and obviously that was hugely sad news. So it was really lovely to see him receive his reward from fellow Monty Python star Michael Palin. On the night, Terry Jones received a standing ovation, as you probably would expect, and he told the crowd to quieten down. So he's obviously still got his sense of humour. Before his son Bill said that it was a great honour, and obviously it would have been. So that's fantastic news. The Game of Thrones live concert experience is touring throughout the US next year. Composer Ramdin Djawadi is touring his musical extravaganza featuring a full-size orchestra and big screen visuals to 28 different cities across the US. So for me, that's massively exciting. The composer got the idea when he was playing some new music to Game of Thrones creators D.B. Wise, I don't know how you pronounce that, Wise, there's the first one, and David Benioff. They said, I want to see this show. I want to see this live. How cool it would be if a choir and an orchestra sang this on stage. So there you go. It does sound amazing. I absolutely love Game of Thrones, as you probably would imagine. Must do the TV show review. Yes, anyway. So, and obviously to hear the live music, the orchestra, and big screen visuals, that would be fantastic. It's a shame I live in the UK, so at the moment it's only come to America. Maybe you ought to do a Kickstarter campaign. Hey, Julian? Yeah? Get the Bottled Imp over there to... No? That's just wishful thinking, isn't it? Anyway, tickets are on sale, and the first concert is on the Wednesday, the 15th of February 2017 in Kansas City. So a bit of a fantasy connection there as well. If you are interested, you can go to www.gameofthronesconcert.com to grab your tickets, and we will obviously put all the links into the description of this episode. Staying with Game of Thrones, a fan has made the board game that features in the books. Yes, readers of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire books may be familiar with the game called... Why do they spell these like this? Cyvasse? Cyvasse. I really can't read, can I? Crevice? Maybe it sounds a bit French. The board is played across, the game is actually played across Westeros in the fictional land where part of the storylines take place, though the rules aren't actually explained in full, and it does seem to be a kind of mixture of risk and chess, because each player has a number of pieces from a spearman to elephants, and naturally dragons. You'd expect dragons to be in the game as well. One fan contacted Bristol Design Forge, who are based in the UK, to create for them a one-of-a-kind Cressy board, however you pronounce the game. So what a great idea. So this guy contacted this company and said, can you make this? And they said yes. Bristol Design Forge specialises in laser cutting, and what they actually created looks amazing. So, wish I had a copy. Tickets are now available for MCM London Comic Con. According to their website, they run the UK's biggest modern pop culture events. And I kind of think that's right, because these MCM, they do seem to be putting more and more of these Comic Cons on, which is obviously a good thing. I don't think there's anything massively different about this one. There's the usual, loads of things going on, and things like the Comic Village will be there, cosplay and masquerade. There'll be dealer stalls and memorabilia, and there's going to be a mega party. There's also going to be special guests as well, plus loads more going on. All the geeky fun takes place on the 28th to the 30th of October at the Excel Centre at the Royal Victoria Dock in London, and you can book your tickets and find out more if you go to mcmcomiccon.com/London. Star Wars Memorabilia will be going on show in London from November. I'm laughing because Julian thinks I say Star Wars wrongly. Don't you, Julian? I didn't know I did. Star Wars. I emphasised the wars. Star Wars. Star Wars. Star Wars. Anyway, the show is called Star Wars Identities and is an interactive show that allows visitors to explore the Star Wars universe, as you can imagine. And you can understand how the characters were made, and also you can create a character of your own if you so desire. There's going to be at least 200 original props from all 7 films, and they'll be featured quite heavily. They've been loaned by the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art, which was established by the saga's creator, George Lucas. I was going to say George Harrison there from the Beatles. Don't know what's wrong this morning. Anyway, the exhibition is on at the O2 in Greenwich, London, and that starts on the 18th of November and finishes on the 3rd of September. No, that doesn't make sense. When does it start? Must be December. I think it's December it finishes. The 18th of November finishes on the 3rd of December. Does that make sense? I've got it wrong. We will change the description. So, yeah, look out for it then. Or you can find out the exact dates by visiting the O2 website, which is theO2.co.uk. It's a very informal news show today, isn't it? Spiritual medium Mark Brindley is holding a supper and seance evening in Stratford-upon-Avon in Warwickshire in England. Mark has been reading tarot cards and giving spiritual guidance for over 20 years. He's hosted many mediumship evenings all over the country. And the supper and seance evening will take place at the Hathaway Tea Rooms, which are 400 years old. And the property has had many uses, such as being a doctor's surgeon. So he's very confident, when I read the information, that there will be spirits there. Now, I know this is a little bit different. It's not strictly fantasy, but then, maybe it's a bit weird for this to be on this show. But I've always been fascinated by tarot cards and mediumship, and you could argue that it kind of is fantasy. Obviously, if you don't believe it, it's people making things up, which is kind of fantasy, isn't it? Well, that's fiction as well. But obviously there's been quite a strong connection in fantasy because you've got the soothsayer, you've got seers, you've got mediums that are actually in the fantasy genre as well. So it's quite nice to actually explore whether that side of fantasy really does exist. I know Julian's shaking his head. Anyway, the evening starts from 7 p.m. and finishes at 10 p.m. Places are limited, so book now if you're interested. Very limited. I think there's only 19 or 20 places. If you do miss out, though, Mark does have another couple of evenings planned at that venue, and I'm sure he's got some planned elsewhere as well. And you can book your tickets by visiting shopping.hathawaytearooms.com. Kickstarter news. Theyre Few and Cursed, issue number 2, is a 6-part comic series by Filippi Cagno and Fabinho Neves. Issue 1 of this post-apocalyptic western was previously funded successfully on Kickstarter, and so they're back. They're back to fund issue 2. The story features a mysterious female protagonist called Redhead, who is a curse chaser hunting down the crows of Mana Olana. It's set in an alternative 1910 universe where most of the water on the planet has been gone for about 70 years. Now, I do love the idea. I've seen more and more of these projects where there's an alternate Western universe that's kind of a bit, maybe there's zombies in it, there's undead, there's monsters. I quite like that. I'm sort of fascinated by the Western genre. And so for it to then have this fantasy element, then, yeah, it's piquing my interest, should we say that. The artwork on this comic does look beautiful. And last time they managed to unlock a stretch goal that meant that they could do another version of the comic that was just a black and white illustration, so you could see all the beautiful lines, perfectly without the colour on it. Obviously there's a colour version, and they will be doing that as well. It's already funded, and it finishes on the 11th of November. Lore Fates Challenge is a set collecting card game for 2 to 4 players with a playing time of around about 20 minutes. It's relatively easy to learn, and it's created and designed and illustrated by Corey Fields of Wayward Fox Games, who previously he did a card game called Werewolf. It's not Ultimate Werewolf, it's not the one where you close your eyes, it's a different one, it's called Werewolf. In fact, you can go onto his website and have a look at that as well. In Lore Fates Challenge, players are trying to collect a set of sets of lore cards while deciding, well, what should I do? Shall I collect that and finish off that set of lore card, or shall I sabotage another player, or shall I just play things a bit safe and not really upset the status quo? And what drew me to this campaign initially was the artwork. Now, I know you shouldn't be drawn just, board games, judge a book by its cover, or even a game by its artwork, but it's a very good start, because for me that sets the tone and the flavour of what the game's going to be like. Obviously, I would recommend, if you are going to back any games on Kickstarter, to definitely check out the rules or any how to play videos, just to see if the mechanics are actually one that you're going to enjoy. There is a how to play video on there, and there's also a rule book that you can have a look at as well. And it's halfway funded, so that's pretty cool, and it finishes on the 19th of October. The Dragon Knight is the 8th I knew I was going to get this wrong. Imaginarium Geographica book by James A. Owen. The Dragon Knight is a standalone young adult short story collection that dovetails into his 7-part novel fantasy series called The Chronicles of Imaginarium Geographica. And book 1, Here There Be Dragons, was published 10 years ago. So he's been busy writing, and apparently this dovetails in where, because all these short stories feature characters and locations from the actual series itself. So it's a nice companion piece. So if you have read, 1 or maybe 2 or maybe all of them, then you'll probably love this, because you'll be into that universe already. And he said, well, obviously, if you haven't read the others, you can start with this one and then start reading the actual series as well. So you can read it at any point. The illustrations, he also illustrates it, and they are really high quality, really beautiful black and white line ink illustrations, which I absolutely adore. There is a hardback edition, and there is also a digital version as well, and there are other reward pledges too. It's already funded, and it finishes on the 2nd of November. But that's all we have time for today, in this rather relaxed, sort of, informal news show. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to spread the word of the Bottled Imp. And remember, keep it unreal, especially if you're as chilled out as I am.